I arrived to Chile, and of course the assistants to the president were there at the airport with the president and the mission president, and we got in the car. We were all excited. We were all really tired because we didn't sleep at all on the airplane. And we got to the mission home, and we started filling out paperwork right away. And once we got done with the paperwork, we could just go take a nap, like most missions do. And I finished before everybody else, so I went up into the room with another elder, and it was really cold. It was really cold in that room. And he fell asleep right away, but I couldn't fall asleep because I was just really excited. So I finished the Book of Mormon. I had like 10 chapters left in Moroni, and I finished it for the first time in Spanish on my first day in the mission, because I read like crazy before the MTC and throughout the MTC. And I just sat there for hours and hours, just really bored. And I was just like wanting to go out and work. And so I left that room where it was just me and that one elder, and everybody else was in another room sleeping. So they were there for 3-4 hours just sleeping. And I was just sitting there next to a furnace, just really cold, trying to get hot, get warmer. And I just remembered thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? I'm all by myself. I'm cold. I don't understand what the assistants are saying because they're speaking in Spanish. And it was just an eye-opening experience, just sitting by that furnace, just thinking, wow, I'm so tired, but I can't go to sleep now. And that was the first real experience of like Chile, like just sitting by myself, understanding, like slowly grasping what was about to happen. Like, I'm about to get my trainer. I'm about to go off into other parts of Chile. I was in a really nice part of the city, and there were just all these thoughts of excitement and nervousness coming. So that was like the first real experience of Chile when I just got to the mission home. And then my trainer came. His name's Elder Gibby, Jordan Gibby, great trainer, very obedient. He picked me up, and he didn't really tell me where we were going. He didn't talk a whole lot. I was trying to speak to him, and he was just very focused on getting to where we had to go. And so I remember going up to the subway station, and he just was going through all these flowers, like these vendors, these salesmen trying to sell flowers, because the subway was just outside of a cemetery. So they were selling flowers. And he was just weaving through all these people selling flowers to this elevator. And then the elevator brought us down to the subway, so we didn't have to go down the stairs with my suitcases. And just following him without a clue where I was, what was happening. We pop up in another subway. We climb out of it, and then we hop on a bus, and I'm like, where are we going? And he's like, we have about a 2-hour ride north, about an hour to 2 hours north, to a city called San Felipe. And I had no clue where this was, but it was dark, and it got dark, and I sat by myself on the bus, and he sat in another seat because those were our assigned seats. And actually before that, I had my first real experience in the mission field. So before I got on the bus, I saw a man just sitting by himself. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to impress my trainer. I'm going to go up and try to talk to him with the limited Spanish that I do know. I sat next to him, and I said, hey, how's it going? And he looked at me, and he said, no lo conozco. That means, I don't know you. And I was like, but I didn't really understand what he was trying to say, so I just kept talking. And he's like, no lo conozco. And he just kept reading his newspaper. And I was like, okay, well, I just kept speaking to him. And then he finally just looked at me with just the ugliest look. Looked at me and said, no lo conozco. And he just got up and walked off. And then I looked at my trainer, and he just gave me a little thumbs up. It's like, good try. And I was like, oh no, here we go. This was like a bad start. I came off like the airplane, first contact, and I screwed it up. So anyways, we get on the bus. I'm sitting by myself, and the guy just came by looking for our tickets to punch them. he asked for my ticket, but I didn't know what he was wanting, so I didn't know. So I just sat there and I just told him I couldn't speak Spanish. Then he finally showed me a ticket. I gave it to him. And then I tried to sleep on the bus, but it was just so hard. It was cold. The windows were all foggy. I couldn't see outside, so I was just sitting there reading an electronic sign that kept like passing by in Spanish. And I just kept trying to understand that sign each time a little better, and then it went by. And we got to San Felipe. Didn't know where I was. It was out more towards the country. And we didn't know where the house was because we were two new elders to that house. So we just had to find it. So we called the last missionaries who were there. We ended up getting to the apartment, threw our bags down. I was ready to sleep. And then he's like, all right, hop on your bike. We're going to go visit some people. He had some names and addresses. And there was an elder that was actually there before us that was there to show us around. So we hopped on our bikes. My first lesson was within 30 minutes of walking in the door of my own home. We just threw our stuff down, got on the bikes, went to this appointment, and I just sat there, shaking my head, not knowing what to say. Didn't understand what they were telling me. And her name was Lorena. She was the first person that I taught. And she was a newly baptized member, but her family weren't. They weren't members. So we focused on her son, her daughter, her mother. No, I believe it was her father. No, her mother and her father were there, but her father was very sick. So we were teaching them. And that was my very first time trying to share my testimony in Spanish. Of course, I was nervous, but it was a moment that I'll never forget. It's just drilled in my mind that the room, the couch, looking into the people's faces and watching them watch me because they knew how new I was. They knew I couldn't understand. So I felt like everybody was looking at me. All eyes were on me, that I was the new guy. So that was my first day in Chile.